Hi, welcome to the Riding the Wall podcast. I'm Chad,
And I'm Justin.
and we're going to talk more NASCAR.
Glad you're back.
That's right. Last week, next week, everything in between. You're going to hear our thoughts, our opinions on all of it. We're not going to hold it back because that's not what we know how to do. Well, if you don't like it, tough. That's all I can say. It's our opinion. It's what we got.
Find another podcast if you don't like this one.
That's right. That's right. And we're going to discuss our fantasy league. And at the end, we're going to give you our picks for the next race at Richmond, which I think is going to be a pretty good race.
Yeah,
you know they're going with the new downforce package. But we're going to get into all that a little bit later. We're going to talk about COTA and some fallout from COTA first. Which, before we even get into that, we'll talk about the Hendrick penalties that got rescinded by the independent panel. So if you don't know, the original penalty was $100,000 per team, so a total of $400,000 to Hendrick Motorsports. Crew chiefs suspended for 4 weeks. 100 owner points for each car and 100 driver points for each car. Now, Hendrick Motorsports appealed that, and the independent panel that doesn't have anything to do with NASCAR, they reviewed everything. They reviewed what NASCAR rules are and what NASCAR said and what Hendrick Motorsports says, and their plea to get that penalty reduced, and they came up with giving the points back, giving the driver points back, giving the owner points back, but keeping the $100,000 penalty and the suspension of the 4 crew chiefs. So my quick thoughts on that is I'm okay with that, just because when the penalties were handed out, I said I'm okay with the monetary fine. I'm okay with the crew chiefs being suspended. I was not okay with the driver points getting taken away from the drivers, but I was okay with the owner points getting taken away, just because, for one, it didn't make it to competition, which I've heard a lot about this week, and number two, the owner points getting taken because the owners, the crew chiefs, everybody around building the car and putting the car on the track knew that those louvers were bad, right?
Well, crew chiefs, definitely.
Yes.
Owners, I don't know if the Wood brothers would know something like that, or if Rick Hendrick would know something like that. Sometimes he's there on the weekends, sometimes he's not. I know I've done things my boss don't know about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
definitely the crew chief, because if the crew chief don't know that's happening, he don't need that job. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? That crew chief better know everything going on that car every weekend.
Right.
Every adjustment made.
And my take on that is that crew chief is kind of he's the
representative.
He's the representative. He's an extension of Rick Hendrick for
Right.
that car. Or so he is there. Rick Hendrick is not going to micromanage this garage, but that crew chief is. So that crew chief is the extension, basically, of Rick Hendrick in that situation.
I could go either way on the owner points, but just because of what you're saying, I agree. You know, my thing is going to be, I want these owners to stick around in NASCAR as long as possible. I want this sport to stay alive. I want it to stay healthy. And Rick Hendricks now, because them owner points got hit, he's going to be the one putting that foot to the ass, saying, "Boy, you ever do this again,
Right?
and we're going to have problems." You
Yeah.
know, so I can go that way on it, but yeah, I'm right there on the same page with you as far as driver points go, because them drivers, I'm not going to say none of them's mechanics or work on their cars. I don't know if they do or not. I'm going to venture out and say most of them don't, if any of them. You know, but I don't think them driver points should have been touched. So.
I agree. And and one of the big stories after these penalties got rescinded was it's basically taken the authority away from NASCAR, and that's the big back and forth that we have right now is that NASCAR is trying to set this standard and trying to establish a tone of don't touch the car. These are the rules. We're going to enforce them strictly, and we're going to enforce them across the board fairly. It doesn't matter if you're Rick Hendrick or if you're Colleague Racing or if you're Wood Brothers. It don't matter. We're going to enforce these things across the board the same way for everybody. And for the most part, I'd say over the past couple of years, I think they've been doing a pretty good job of enforcing them fairly and evenly. But it's the independent panel that comes in and they kind of overturn what NASCAR is saying. So they're basic.
I think it's a good thing. I think it you get a bigger window for transparency.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You go to court and you have a judge and a jury, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's why.
Mm-hmm. I
For
agree with
reasons
this
like that. So, I think it's a good thing. I think it'll keep um, I think it'll keep the lines less blurry. I mean, if you got the NASCAR board, potentially fining or punishing it. Let's say, for an example, Stuart Haas for something, and down the road, 2 years later, um, Penske does the same thing and don't get the same penalty. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think having that independent board will help keep things between the ditches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it keeps the fairness and it keeps, how to say this, it keeps one ruling body from being the judge, jury, and executioner. When, especially in this case, when Hendrick Motorsports said that they knew there was a problem with these louvers when they got them. My question about this is, okay, they had an issue, and apparently they had discussions with NASCAR on how to fix this or how to make these things right or fair, and nothing got concluded with that. But once NASCAR took these illegal louvers at the track, what was it, Phoenix that they got taken away at?
Phoenix or Vegas? It was
One
Phoenix.
of the two. One
It
of the
was
two.
Phoenix. Yeah.
I know they're out west, but
Yeah.
but as soon as they got these louvers taken away, they were able to put some replacement louvers in that was legal, right? So NASCAR allowed the teams to practice with the illegal louvers. As soon as the car comes off the track, they repossess these louvers. So then Hendrick somehow, I guess, in the spare toolbox in the truck there, they've got some spare louvers that actually work. So why wasn't those on the car to begin with? That would be my question.
Right.
Why?
But I think it keeps everybody honest. You know what I mean?
It does.
I mean, I don't see no problem with having that independent board. I mean,
No, I don't. I think NASCAR has a problem with this independent board. They're not liking it. It's kind of like
Dad said no, so they run to Mom.
right.
You
Yeah, because Mom will let me do this.
Right.
So I'm gonna go talk to them because they've overturned quite a few penalties over the past couple of years, and I don't have them in front of me, but I know of like Byron spinning out Hamlin last year on the caution lap. He got points deducted and a monetary fine. Well, they kept the monetary fine and gave him back his points. And there's been five or
Custer
six
did
other.
the same thing at the road course. To help Briscoe out. When Custer's crew chief came over the radio and said, "Hey, it looks like you got a tire down."
Yeah, slow down. That tire might blow up.
Yeah, and they got busted on it, but
Yeah.
you got to keep it fair.
Yeah, and that penalty stuck.
Yeah.
Points and monetary, and that could be part of the reason Custer don't have a job right now in the Cup Series. Well, that's just a small portion of it, I think.
Well, that
I think
4
the
years
results,
he didn't win. I mean,
the results had a lot to do with that. But that's just my take on the points, the stuff getting rescinded. I like the appeal board. I think sometimes, and this is a per incident thing. It seems like sometimes they overstep their boundaries. They don't quite let NASCAR enforce to the degree that they need to sometimes.
well, not only that, but when you get some drivers that are very vocal, and Hamlin's one of them. Look, Kyle Busch is one of them. That you know, Harvick's one of them. Talking about the dirt track. When he fires back at NASCAR, when they speak their opinion, and then they start getting dinged every weekend. We're pulling these 4 random cars after the race for the post-race inspection.
Like Harvick did last year.
Right. And it's just a coincidence you're pulling my car because I
Right.
fired off at the mouth last week, And so, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, so having that independent panel is good to fall back on there. I agree with that. What else happened at COTA? We had Suarez. Suarez got pissed off. He got fined for being an asshole.
Yeah.
$50,000.
Hit his own teammate. I mean, come on.
Just Chastain got chastained by his teammate. Just straight up bumped him out of the way to get to bum him.
Usually Suarez gets penalized for something. It's too many over the wall.
Right.
I mean, it's
right.
But
do you think that's a harsh enough penalty for $50,000? No points, nothing like that. That was all the penalty was for making contact on pit road.
I think there needs to be. Here's what I'm going to say: is every driver penalty should involve driver points. Period. Because
true.
That's honestly how I feel about it. I mean, you can throw a monetary fine in there too, but if your team or team owner agrees with what happened on the track, that team owner is going to fork up the money for that penalty.
Mm-hmm. And at this level, the monetary fines usually don't mean anything.
Right.
He got fined $50,000. He's going to make that back next week.
Right. So I mean, he could sell a racing suit on eBay and probably get that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
but the points is going to hurt.
Right, because them guys I have, I'm wholehearted confident that all 40 of them drivers are out there doing the best they can because they love their job. They've done it their whole life, and you hit them where it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
It's I'm a firm believer in that in life, not just NASCAR.
Oh yeah.
But hit them where it hurts. And I mean, if it's a small thing, I'm going to say a small thing that didn't affect the race or the outcome of the race, what Suarez did, maybe ding him 20 points, and if you make it to the playoffs, we're taking 10. You know what I mean? Do something like that.
Yeah, and each type of penalty would come with a set amount of points. Like something like what Bubba did to Larson at Vegas last year would come with maybe a 50-point or 100-point penalty.
Right.
Whereas something like what,
car,
yeah, I mean, you really did a lot of things right there. It's a no-no. But with what Suarez did, now I get it. There's people on pit road, and it's a dangerous thing, and it's frowned upon highly. But I don't think that would be a 100-point penalty. I think that would be maybe a 20-point penalty, or 25 points, something like that. Something that's going to hurt. Or, I don't know, but it set a boundary on it and make it clear, make it in writing.
A Class A fine, a Class B fine.
You got a Class A, Class Bs. I like that.
Yeah, something like that. And, you fall into this category if this is what you do, you know, and you get, let's say you get 3 penalties over something like that. A driver gets 3 penalties, you're suspended for a week.
Yep.
Or something like that. We're going to sit your ass if you're not going to learn. Just like, I mean,
it's kind of like school. You get detention.
I'm sure your dad whipped your ass for doing something and you didn't do it a second time.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think there's nothing wrong with tightening up some silly shit. Especially, and this is the 43-year-old man coming out on me, but especially with the younger generation in NASCAR, I think they're not all of them, but some of them are probably more prone to tantrums, like Bubba Wallace.
Right.
Kyle Busch was that way at one time.
Just up until a few years ago, I think.
Right. But it's you act up, you're going to time out.
Yeah, there's going to be consequences for that. And the consequences could differ depending on the severity of whatever it calls for. Um, so, just a couple more things on COTA before we move on. Now, you said you didn't see the Bubba interview
No,
during
I
the
didn't.
race. Okay, so if you didn't see the COTA race, Bubba
I read about it
had
after.
a wreck like halfway into the first lap or something like that. And he said in his interview that he had a brake line broke or some sort of line broke that was spewing oil or some kind of fluid out of the car and he couldn't stop. Well, I didn't see any of the cars behind him have any trouble, so he wasn't putting anything down on the track. And I've just never, I don't know, you don't see that very often, so I'm a little bit, and along with what he did last year, when he said his steering went out as he was driving down the track to take out Larson, I'm a little suspect of this brake line breaking because it just looks like, and I don't think he had any ill intent to hit Larson or anybody else that was around. I just think it looked like he just forgot to turn. You
Right.
know, it looked like he was going down there. He was trying to catch the guys in front of him, and it looked like he forgot to turn. You know, it's kind of one of them oh shit moments. Slam the brakes, and there's a car there.
Right.
Is what it looked like. But in his post-race interview, after he got out of the care center there, they were doing an interview with him, and his first, well, his after he'd said what was the matter with the car, he said, you know, I've been in Cup for 6 years. This is 2 weeks in a row I've made a rookie mistake. I just need to be replaced.
Well, Denny Hamlin, Michael Jordan, if you're listening,
Well,
I'm just waiting on the call.
Right. That's
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take that seat.
I've got a helmet ready. But first off, you know that's obviously a big no-no, and I think with these younger guys these days, a lot of them think that they can just say what they want, and there's no repercussions for that. And to a point, that's true, but
You don't say that.
you don't say I need to be replaced at the highest level when there's 100 guys ready to
Yeah.
replace you tomorrow.
Both of his bosses have had bad days at work. Talking about Hamlin and Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Michael Jordan never walked off that court after a bad game and said, I just need to be put on the bench.
Yeah.
You know, that don't happen.
No.
He knows he's great,
And he's
he
gonna
wants that
prove it.
driver out there to, before when 23XI started up before the Daytona 500 last year, you know, they showed the pre-race. At the pre-race, they showed the interview with the first time Michael Jordan and Bubba Wallace met, and they were sitting across from each other, talking and laughing and stuff like that. And the last thing that Michael Jordan said to him before they parted ways was, "Just remember one thing: I don't write checks to losers."
That's right.
And it wasn't about you're black and I'm black. It wasn't about bringing a black driver into NASCAR. All that stuff was left out of it because you've got an African American owner and you've got an African American driver.
Which is rare
it is rare
at this level.
and
Yes.
and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not
But
at all.
but Michael Jordan made it a point to say, remember one thing: I don't write checks to losers.
Yeah.
He don't care if you're black, white, brown, green, yellow. He don't care.
Mm-mm.
And that's what you want in an owner.
Mm-hmm.
Is you want somebody that wants to be out there, and you can count on.
And they're doing the right thing.
Right.
They're doing the right thing. They're giving 110%.
And when you even doubt yourself as far as saying, I just need to be replaced, he wouldn't have had his shoes off yet. He'd been replaced.
Yeah, if I own that team and a driver says I need to be replaced, okay, that tells me you don't
We
want to
can
be
make it
here.
happen.
You don't want to be here.
And not only that, but I just signed a guy that's your teammate now. This is his first year. What? How many races in? 3, 4 races in, he gets a win.
Yeah.
Somebody that wants to be out here. Somebody that's in a Toyota for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
On the NASCAR circuit.
And had 3 bad races to start the year. Just
Right.
Totally kicking him in the in the bad feels. But so he got talking about Tyler Reddick, he got a really bad start to the year, but he's still going out every week, giving that 110%. And even if 110% means you finish 12th that day, and you brought the car home in one piece, sometimes that's a pretty damn good day.
Yeah.
You know.
But he's already went out there and got a win for that team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
So that when you're comparing the resume or the current status of Bubba Wallace versus a Tyler Reddick, and you got one guy saying I need to be replaced.
I mean,
That's
you're 5, 6 races into the year. How are you going to feel at race 32, 33, 34, 35? You know
right,
what I mean?
right. You're wore out. You're beat down.
Yeah.
You
You're
know,
ready to go home. You're
are
ready
you
for a
really
break.
even trying at this point?
Right.
And Bubba has something that a lot of people don't have, which is the fact that because of the situation that he's in, he can attract a lot of good sponsorship. I mean, McDonald's is not a cheap sponsor. They're not one of the low sponsors. They're putting a lot of money into this team. They're putting a lot of money into that car, and they're putting a lot of money into Bubba because they have faith that he can go out there, give 110%.
And show
And
that McDonald's emblem going around the track all day.
yeah, and bring and bring them results home, whether that's the 5th place, 10th place, or a win, whatever the case may be. That's what they're doing, and to have the guy that they're supporting say, I just need to be replaced. Well,
You're a quitter.
your sponsors can have you replaced. It may not just be a team owner thing. Your sponsors, depending on how much money they give and support that team with, they could be the ones that
Sponsors
replace you.
control a lot. You know,
They
I mean,
do, especially these
day
days.
and age.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's you look at the what I still refer to as the Washington Redskins football team.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they wasn't going to change the name of that football team, but all their sponsors, 100% of them, Nike, everybody's name that was on that stadium pulled their sponsorship and said, if until you change your team name, and they changed it immediately.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? It stopped right there.
The sponsor carries a lot of weight.
Absolutely. That's where the paychecks come from.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, Joe Gibbs couldn't even get Kyle Busch one.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, look what happened to him.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
crazy, ain't it?
It is crazy. It's it's weird times, but you really and I know, and I don't know. It's kind of touchy because I want a driver to give his honest opinion when he climbs out of that car. I want to see the emotion. I want to see, is he pissed off? Is he happy? Is he whatever the case may be? I like to see that because it shows that they're human. They're not just this superstar that's put on a pedestal. They've earned that pedestal. But by earning that pedestal, sometimes even in the heat of the moment, or whether you're disappointed with yourself with what Bubba was, or you're really mad like Suarez was, you have to watch what you say when you climb out of that car, even if you have to turn away and not say anything.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
That's better than going out there and saying something silly like I need to be replaced.
Yep.
And another thing that caught my attention in that interview, same interview, he said maybe 10 seconds worth of stuff, but there was a lot there. Not only the I need to be replaced, but the 2 weeks in a row I made a rookie mistake. A broken brake line is not a rookie mistake. So does that mean there was really a broken brake line, or did he just mess up and blamed it on a brake line?
Forgot to turn.
Yeah. So I think there's more in that than what we know. And
that team knows.
That team knows. Denny Hamlin knows. That crew chief knows.
Yeah.
All them guys around Bubba knows. And he started the interview off with trying to be careful being on this slippery slope of self-doubt, is what he said. Which, I get that. I mean, if you're not winning a lot, there is self-doubt.
You know you got the equipment. You know you got the team.
And you're frustrated you're not getting the results that you think you should
So the only
have.
thing I can blame is me.
Right.
Now there's a difference in saying I need to get my head up my ass. I'm screwing up.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna hit it harder this week than I have all year.
Mm-hmm.
But when that sentence, I just need to be replaced, comes out of your mouth, game over. I'm at least gonna sit you for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a lot of money out there going around that track.
And
I'm going to worry about it being another driver. You know, if I'm every time I go to pass him or he's behind me, I'm going to worry about that. You know what I mean? I'm
Right.
going to, what state of mind is this kid in? You
Yeah.
know, is he going to make another rookie mistake? You know?
Right. Is he going to forget to turn and take me out, which in turn affects my job performance? It affects my pocketbook. It affects my owner's pocketbook. So yeah, all eyes are going to be on Bubba for a while because if it's, do you need some mental help? Do you need
A break.
you just need a friend to talk to? I'm sure he has those, but what is it that you need to get your mind right so you can perform in this car? That would be, if I'm the owner, that would be the first question that I ask. What do you need? Secondly, but if I'm Bubba, you just have to put all that stuff behind you. If I'm in his position, I have to put all that stuff behind me. Okay, so I made 2 rookie mistakes in a row. Let's put that behind me. I'm going to go hit the simulator really hard. I'm going to be in the garage double time this week, talking to the guys, you know.
Well, when you're at that level, I don't have room or patience for self pity.
Right.
I don't. Me
True.
personally. And it's going to be even worse when I got millions of my own dollars on it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? You come up through the ranks, you come up through sprints or late models or Xfinity or Craftsman Truck Series or any of those. You should have had all that out of your system by now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You
So,
know how to fix yourself.
right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, those drivers just starting their careers in no matter what racing series they're in, they're going to experience that
Hmm.
100%. Sometime or another, they're going to
Oh yeah.
experience it.
Hmm.
You know, you never hear Timmy Hill out there saying, well, I just need to be replaced. I ain't finished in the top 15 in
It,
5 years, But,
right.
he's out there doing it.
Hmm. Even Ty Dillon ain't out there saying, "I just need to be replaced."
Right.
You keep your head down, you keep working on it, and you keep
You don't.
improving.
That sentence better not come out of your mouth if you're my driver.
Right. Or it's going to come true before you ever get the racing suit off.
Right.
I will have a replacement driver for
And
you.
I say that not just for Bubba Wallace, but I
Anybody.
don't care who you are.
Yeah.
You
I
know.
mean, if yeah, even Kyle Larson comes out of that car and he's like, Psh, "I suck. I just need to be replaced." Okay,
Yep.
you're replaced. Let's see how you handle that.
I mean, there's a way to say that, and it's, guys, this is my retirement year.
That's right.
Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, all these guys have done that. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? They know their mind and their body, and maybe occasionally their wives are telling them when enough is enough.
Right. It's time to be done.
So I mean, there's a time to say, I, I need to sit out of my car.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the way you do it. That's the way a professional does it, not.
Yeah, and you know when that time is.
Yeah.
Even Kevin Harvick, because he won a couple races last year. I mean,
He's still
he's still at the top of his game. I mean, he may not be
he's
as
still gonna
aggressive.
he's still gonna be that race fan.
Yes.
That guy that is, he's everybody knows that keeps up with NASCAR. Kevin Harvick's going in the booth next year.
Hmm.
He's gonna analyze or commentate the races, and it's probably gonna kill him, to sit up there and
Yeah.
critique these drivers
Hmm.
and watch these races when he's got that inside of him to be out there to do that. I
Yeah.
mean, you see it with Tony Stewart and Clint Boyer, and maybe Danica sometimes. I
Well,
should be out there crashing these guys, not him.
I mean, yeah.
But it's even Darrell Waltrip. 20 years after he retired,
Hmm.
is up there. Talking about how much he wants to be back out there, and I mean, that doesn't leave you when you're that guy.
Right. When it's in your blood, it's there for life. Um, what about just the racing at COTA?
It was a good race.
I enjoy the race. I'm not a road race fan, but I enjoy watching COTA.
Yeah, yeah. We talked about that last week. We are both on the same page there. Um, it was it was a good race. A lot of action, good speed,
Hmm.
great weather. But um, in the last 17 laps of that race, there was 10 cautions.
That's crazy.
That is, and it went 7 laps longer than what it was scheduled for because of the cautions.
Mm-hmm.
So um, one thing I didn't mind about it was there at the end of the race, strategy fell into place. You had guys that had been out there on 4 tires for 15, 20 laps longer than the other, or 13 or 15 laps longer than the other ones. So
Yeah.
I was excited to see that coming. I knew it was, and I knew it was going to come down to strategy. And what I didn't want was a green white checker screw all that strategy up.
Right. I thought it was interesting because, and I didn't get to see the actual last few laps because I work on race day almost all the time, but I have to record it on TV and I watch it when I get home. But I didn't catch the end of it because there were so many green white checkers there at the end, so many attempts to finish this thing that I didn't get the last one, and so I didn't see that. But with what you were saying, it was a strategy race, and you had they're telling Tyler Reddick, you're 2 laps short. You got to start conserving. So it's like, oh, here we go. This is going to get
Yep.
interesting. And then we had a caution, so it took all that away.
Yep.
Now we're not into a strategy race anymore. It's just a
Everybody's getting tires
survive.
and gas.
Yeah, it's just a survive now. And then we have so many attempts at going, then it becomes a strategy race again. So it's like
Right.
it was, and then it wasn't, and then it was.
And I enjoy that.
Yeah,
But I really didn't enjoy that first one when it leveled the or knocked the strategy out of the game.
Yeah.
I'm big on strategy. I like to see these guys think outside the box, and you know,
yeah. It's bringing the X's and O's like in basketball or football to the racetrack, and that's when it becomes a team thing. It's not just which driver's better, which team is going to do this the best.
right.
Um,
And I enjoyed the mandatory caution stops being gone. I did like that. It was the first time we've seen that since the stages have been placed
yeah.
into NASCAR.
Hmm.
I enjoyed seeing the cars keep right on going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was nice on a road course.
Yeah, that was nice to
I
see.
hope they keep that.
Especially at COTA, and that's bringing me into my next thing that I wanted to talk about. Here's the one thing that I absolutely hated about COTA. Turn 1. It's fun to watch them drive through there, but when you get these guys that are 6, 7 rows back just throwing their car in there like a cannonball
Well,
with
when
no
they
repercussion, they're just knocking out 10 people in front of them.
well that
What skill does that require?
well to me, I mean, it throws the skill out the window.
Yeah.
The way that is set up in that restart zone with that turn 1 right there, those guys, the front of the pack is going to be
Scared to death.
they're going to be downshifting, already turning the wheel in turn 1.
You got to shit and get around that corner.
When the guy in 30th is still in the restart zone. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? He don't even know it's happened yet.
Yeah.
And I mean, it ain't no secret them cars ain't got brake lights.
Right.
So
And it's not just at COTA. We have this at the Indianapolis road course also,
yeah, Sonoma, Watkins Glen.
where they come down through that long straightaway to a really sharp curve, and the guys in the back are just throwing it in there. And the cars these days are built to handle that. They're built to take those kind of hits without cutting down a tire. 2 years ago that wouldn't have happened. There would have been 20 guys out there that were 2 laps down because they had to go and change a tire because it got flat. But I'm not, as a fan, I'm not as much on that throwing the car in there into, just cannonballing it into that turn and just plowing your way through and picking up 15 spots. And that's what they have to
not
do.
till the white flag's out anyway.
Yeah, and especially if it's under green and you've been running for a few laps and you just can't quite get around this guy, that kind of scenario, it makes more sense and it's a little more understanding. Don't make it right, but it's
Well, I
understanding.
mean,
But
that's where your car's stronger than mine. You're in first, I'm in second. Your car's stronger than mine. Now it's time for the driver to show what he can do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to get those wins. I'm going to bump and run. 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I'm not
And
going to dump you. I'm not going to say that with anybody,
right,
but
you never know when you're gonna have to pull
right,
that one out.
I'm not going to say my best friend's riding alongside of me, my teammate, and I'm not going to say I'm going to dump you, but my
If
my
it gets
job
a little
out
rough
there
in
is
that
to
corner,
my job's to cross that checkered line first.
right? It just for the restarts, I guess is where I have the problem with it. Just because it's like Ross Chastain, he's the one that's responsible. Well, I guess he's not really responsible. Suarez is responsible for it for his own actions, but Chastain's actions, he threw that car in there because I don't even remember what spot he was in, but he was back there a little ways. He threw that car in there and bounced it off of Bowman, which threw Bowman up into Suarez, and Suarez takes out Truex and himself, and because Suarez was in the top five, he ended up finishing 27th because of the actions of his teammate. You know, I just think at this level, we should not have the kamikaze cannonball move going into that. I mean, you would never see the likes of Dale Earnhardt, Darrell Waltrip, uh, Ricky Rudd, Mark Martin, those types of guys. Even the newer guys like a Stewart or a Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth,
Brad Keselowski.
Brad Keselowski, they would not be throwing these cars in there like a cannonball because they know how to drive. Now, I'm not saying that a driver like Chastain or any of the guys that was just cannonballing their car at COTA don't know how to drive. I'm just saying the desperation level and the sacrifice of others, and it's not really sacrifice of others, but it's just the fact that you're just plowing through there. You're a bull in a china shop. You don't care what the consequences are because your car ain't gonna get hurt. All you gotta do is keep it straight,
Yeah.
and there's no repercussions for that. I just don't like that type of racing. I guess on
Well, and to me, there shouldn't be such. If I'm that to me, COTA wasn't designed for NASCAR. You know what I
true,
mean?
true,
So, um, my thing is, turn one and turn two are going to be a lot smoother transitions than COTA's turn one is. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying?
hmm
I might have an uphill curve, something like that, but when you got that much horsepower in 38 cars heading towards a 90-degree turn at turn one, coming off a restart, something's gonna happen.
well, something's gonna happen.
So,
Yes,
and I'm not gonna say you couldn't put 40 perfect drivers out there and make it work, but chances are it's going to happen because every time they had a restart, they said, "Here we go, let's see what happens." Here
and
this is the exciting part, and things like that. But design, if you're going to race road courses, design them to where they fit the type of car you're going to race on them. You know,
yeah, yeah, I get that. Um, it's just
it is exciting though.
it is exciting, and like you said, to say with what you're saying, that makes for good TV.
Yeah,
That's what they want. That's the ratings. That helps with these TV deals that NASCAR and the teams are fighting about back and forth and this and that. And it makes for good TV and it makes for good ratings. I just think it doesn't make for a skilled driver to show his skills. What skill does it take to just plow into a turn and knock seven people out of the way, and then all of a sudden you're celebrating because you finished fifth instead of finishing 13th
well, actually,
because you really didn't do nothing.
yeah,
You just kept your foot on the gas and said, "Threw caution to the wind." But now you got to deal with seven guys that are out going to put you in a headlock. If you're lucky, that's all they're going to do, and then you got to watch out for these guys next week. So I don't know. It just to me, I just didn't like it for the skill level because you wouldn't see the top guys back in the day doing that, but at the same time, their cars wouldn't handle that. Whereas these guys of today, their cars will handle that. So I don't know. I'm on the fence because it is exciting to watch, but if I'm a driver out there on a track,
The most talented driver's not always going to finish up there
right? And
because of
and
that.
if I'm running third or the leader, I'm sweating to death over 13th spot back there taking me out. I'm not so much worried about this guy right behind me. It's the guy that's going to bump four guys in between us and cause that chain reaction. You know, and then I don't know who the hell to be mad at. You know,
Right. Yep.
I can't be mad at the guy that spun me because he got hit too. You
Yep.
know,
It's,
it was
it's an
the
accordion.
yeah, it's the Joker back there in 15th spot that's causing all this crap. And that's the only bad part I took away from COTA. Everything else was great. It's an entertaining race to watch. I look forward to COTA, and it's one of the few road courses that I do look forward
When it
to
takes a
seeing.
long time to make a lap too.
It does take a long time. It's weird to see what was the race?
3.6 miles.
68 laps or something
Yeah.
like that. It's weird to see a NASCAR race going 68 laps.
Stage one,
Yeah.
12 laps.
Yeah. It's like, what?
Seriously?
And I think we're going to see the same thing at the Indianapolis road course because they have that same turn. And we've seen it last year with Logano. I mean, I specifically
Yeah,
remember
you
Logano just.
remember turn one last year, Chase Elliott and Kyle Larson? That was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it was scary.
Yeah.
It could have been really bad for Chase when Larson brakes went out. You know, and that you're at the Indy GP. That turn one is a right hand turn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that curve to the right there, and Larson's brakes were gone.
Yeah.
And he ended up using Chase Elliott to slow himself down.
Yeah.
And it
Well, it's Ty Dillon.
Ty Dillon.
Ty Dillon, yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
It was Ty Dillon, but it was crazy that how hard he hit Ty Dillon.
I thought somebody was going to be hurt on
Right.
that one. That
Me
was...
too. And you know, it's I mean, things can happen out there on that track, but even the skilled drivers, the ones that know what they're doing, things will happen.
Yeah, things will happen, and it's crazy. And you could tell his was legit that his brakes went out just because he tried to turn the car sideways going into that turn
Right.
to keep from it. But
Yeah. He didn't.
or he tried to gas it to try and cut that gap, shoot that gap between the two cars. But
he didn't get out and say, "I need to be replaced."
yeah, he didn't do that. But
He just got back from a vacation, you know.
he got back from an unwanted vacation.
So we go to Richmond this week.
Richmond's going to be exciting. We're doing a short track swing.
Yeah.
I really look forward to the short tracks. I think we need more of them in NASCAR. But Richmond's going to be fun, especially with the newer downforce package being used at Richmond. It's like I've said before. I think it's just going to make a wheel man. You know, these guys that were dependent on that downforce helping them get grip with the tires, that's not going to be there as much.
Yeah. Now you're going to drive.
Yeah, when you go to gas on it early, the tire's going to get a little squirrely on you now. So you got to be a little more sensitive with the gas. So that should make for an interesting show, I think.
Richmond's always good.
Yeah, Richmond's always
I mean,
fun.
and I don't mean it's full of excitement and crashes and everything, and you know, it's just it's a good racer's race. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Those guys that love to race, it's a great race for that.
It's a short track, but it doesn't really feel like a short track to me. You know,
Right.
when I think of short tracks, I think of Bristol, Martinsville. But Richmond is right there with them as far as the excitement level.
It's up there with Darlington with me. That's what I like about. I mean, it's shorter than Darlington, but it's got. I mean, all the turns are great. They're doable. To me, it's just like the banking is perfect. The track is perfect. Probably the most important thing is, to me, is the drivers love to go there.
Yeah.
You know, and anybody can win on it. Anybody that's in one of them cars. It's not a road course specialty. It's not a dirt specialty. It's not a super speedway. You know, going to see Corey LaJoy up there. It's a super speedway. You know, but any one of them 38 drivers can win that race. You know, that's what I like about it.
Yeah. So what are some of your more memorable moments from Richmond? I have
I got
one, maybe two.
I mean, I'd say probably the most recent memorable moment to me would be What they nickname that? Spingate. You remember
Yeah,
that?
that's the one that
Boyer.
I'm thinking. Oh, Boyer.
Yeah, when they accused him of intentionally spinning,
Oh
and
yes,
you
yes,
know,
that's one of my two.
yeah,
Yes,
that's what the
for Michael
spin gate.
Waltrip
Yeah,
Racing.
yeah, that's when he was in the 15, number 15 car,
Uh,
the 5 hour energy, I think it
yes,
was,
that's what it was. That's what I was trying to think of.
and after.
Slows down, then just
Right.
oops, I spun out. Also,
But I tell you what, in true Wheelman fashion, when they talked to him when he got out of the car in the pits, Jamie Little was the one that interviewed him, and I remember this plain as day. She said, they're because they red. I think did they red flag it and
I
make
don't
all of them
recall.
stop? I don't remember if it did or not, but they were NASCAR's questioning on the
I
spot
think NASCAR investigated during the race and after the race because Boyer's spin helped
his teammate.
one of his teammates
Yeah,
further himself into the playoffs or get into the playoff picture. Yes.
yeah, but yeah, I remember all the headlines after that spin gate and everything like
Oh
that. But
yeah.
Boyer, like I said, in true Wheelman fashion, just being the driver that he is. No, no, car just I felt the tire, Yeah.
I had a loose lug nut or something
Right.
else
No,
that came
that
off.
tire went down, and next thing I know, I was going around.
Yep.
It's that's probably my most memorable recent memory from Richmond, but
And Boyer's good about doing that, saying that, knowing that it's wrong, and having this totally confused look on his face. Like, I don't know what happened.
right.
I might talk to the boys in the garage, see what happened.
Somebody threw a rock out of the crowd.
I don't know what happened. You see a beer can that kept flying down? I don't know what happened, but it's crazy. The main thing that I remember most from Richmond, I remember that. That was one of my two. But the other is the Dale Jr. Kyle Busch. And I pulled it up so I can get a date on it. It was in 2008. I would have thought it would have been later than that, but it was 2008 when they were fighting for the lead. And Kyle Busch took out Jr. on purpose.
Yeah, it was obvious too.
It was very obvious.
Yeah.
And both of them knew it at the time. And, everybody in the stands was
They were
ready
battling.
to burn the place
They
down.
were battling.
Yeah, they were battling it out, and I thought for sure I didn't think Bush would have needed to do that.
Bush had the faster car that day. I remember it.
Yes, Bush had the faster car.
I think that's when Bush. Yeah, he was in 18 then in 2008.
Yeah, and that's when Junior was in the '88.
Yeah.
I think it was the National Guard car, and it looked like Junior was getting ready to win that race, and here comes Kyle. He said, "Nope, not tonight, bud.
Yeah.
This is mine."
And Junior went back. Junior went ass end first into the wall. I remember it tore the shit out of his car.
Yeah, I tore him up that night. He got
But
robbed of a win.
he kept his cool though. I remember the post race talk too, and he didn't
He didn't need to be replaced.
no
He didn't
no,
say
he
that.
Didn't. he may have said Kyle did, but
Yeah.
but no, he kept his cool. But you could just tell it took all the wind out of his sails the way that race was handled. But I like Dale Jr. a lot. Love the guy. Got a shit ton of respect for him. But
I like listening to him. He wasn't never my favorite driver.
No, I agree.
He was up there.
I love what he does for the sport. That's
Yes.
why I like him.
Yeah.
He's still out there revamping tracks. He's still out there with heavily involved in NASCAR. You still see him in a lot of weekend races and stuff like that. But he wasn't one to go chase down Kyle and beat his ass. He wasn't one to badmouth him. He really didn't after that race. He didn't say a bad thing about Kyle. He didn't even mention his name, as a matter of fact. But that goes right back to just let's not talk right now.
Right.
Let me
say what needs to be said and
Right.
nothing more at this point because he knew what happened.
Yeah.
Kyle Busch knew what happened. Everybody knew what happened, and he knew how he was going to handle it. He just didn't need to announce it.
right. So it's but on that other foot, Kyle Busch is a younger driver.
Mhm.
This guy, he's still he's still that kid that's, Kyle Busch was a prick in 2008. You
Yeah.
know,
Oh,
but
yeah. Yeah, he
but
was.
he's still that kid that's saying, I'm going to be a Hall of Famer.
Hmm.
I'm getting this win.
Yeah, and at
You
that time, he
ha,
wasn't in the business for 10 years yet.
right? Yeah.
It's not like he was
You know,
a
it's
big veteran.
this that
Well, he was a veteran, not a legend, I
not
should
just
say.
not just not just NASCAR drivers, but race car drivers have a microsecond to make a decision on what they're going to do, and he made his.
Right.
He was willing to, he already knew in the back of his mind he was going to take whatever tongue lashing, ass whooping, whatever after that race, but he knew he made his mind up in that split second what he's going to do, and he was going to do what he had to win.
And he did. I mean, he knew because he was behind him for a few laps,
Did
so
he
he
get
had time
did
to
he
think.
get the win?
I think he did get the win. Yeah.
Did he? I
Yep.
can't remember if somebody passed him when he dumped him or.
No, I think he went on around. But he knew that spinning out NASCAR's most popular driver for umpteen years in a row,
Oh,
that
yeah,
wasn't going to be welcomed by a
he
whole
set
lot of
the
fans.
he set the pace for his fan base right there.
Yeah, he did.
Because I mean, up till last year when we went to Bristol, every race I'd ever been to, when they do the driver announcements, every time they announce Kyle Busch, all you hear is boos, and he just comes out smiling about
And he
it.
loves it. He
Yeah.
loves it. He's the
So,
Ric Flair of NASCAR racing. But I looked it up. He did not go on to win that race. Clint Boyer ended up going
Boyer
on to
did.
win that race.
Okay. I couldn't
I didn't
remember.
remember who won. All I remember was that spin job.
Yeah.
But so we're going to Richmond. What do you think some of the storylines going in there is going to be? What are things to watch?
I think one of the storylines would be Bubba's mentality.
Yeah,
I
think that's
really do. I think it's going to be and this hurts me to say, but I think it's going to be a Toyota dominated race.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, this is a Joe Gibbs track.
Yeah.
It is. Thankfully, I picked a Gibbs car. And I think with what you said with Bubba being something to watch is going to be also along the lines of this is a short track, so there's going to be some bumping. There's going to be some pushing.
And that's why I think that will be one of the storylines that was one of the storylines from the end of the last race.
Yeah.
So it's obviously going to carry something over into the pre-race of your next race.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, you're not going to a specialty track, and when I say that, I mean a road course or dirt or
Right.
maybe even a super speedway.
Yeah.
But you're going to a NASCAR driver's specialty track.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to a oval, mile and a half. Let's see where your state of mind's at now. This is
Right.
This is what, I mean, this is day one of NASCAR right here. You
Yeah.
know,
This is going to be his test.
Yeah.
Because
So if you go out there and fail,
it could have some repercussions.
yeah.
Because he's already in a frazzled state of mind, so what's this 38 other guys pushing him around? What's that going to do to him?
Well, I mean, how well, I can't really go there, but you got a guy out there that's not even supposed to be there, Josh Berry.
Yeah.
Chase will be back in a week or two.
Should
They're already
be.
saying he should be back sooner than expected.
That's good.
Chase even said it during the COTA race. I like how they pulled him in to commentate.
Yeah, that was nice to get a driver's perspective on that
Right.
track.
Especially that driver.
Yeah.
I mean,
A road course ringer.
right.
Yeah.
So it was, Josh Berry's done a pretty damn good job of proving himself at every race this year.
Mm-hmm.
And who's to say he don't just slide in that 23 car?
Could be. Could be. We'll have to wait and see. It could be interesting. I think one of the things I'm going to watch is, like you said, this is a Toyota-dominated track. We got a Toyota that just won last week. It took Toyota a while to get to winner's circle this year, to victory lane, but now that they're there, they just got one last week. Now they're going to a Toyota-dominated track. They could get another one this week. So I think Tyler Reddick's going to be another one to watch. I think now that he's got that win in that new car and that
weight
new
off his
team,
shoulders.
He's taking that weight off those shoulders, and he's going to start flexing on him a little bit. And he's a good driver. I hated to see him go to Toyota because that's for me that's the arch enemy. But
Hey, yeah.
he went from Chevy, which to me is the best manufacturer out
He went
there.
from like a dog turd to a cat turd.
But for me, he went from penthouse to outhouse, and but his talent's showing through, and he's gonna do a good job because he rose through the ranks of these short tracks, and he don't mind bumping and all that stuff. So I think he's gonna be one to watch. I didn't pick him to win. I don't think he's gonna win, but he could be up front.
Yeah, I think he'll be a contender.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
he's fast.
he is fast. Um,
It'll definitely be a. I think, like I said earlier, I think it's definitely going to be a racer's race this weekend.
yeah,
And that to me, that's exciting. You know, like I said, Richmond's never been a huge track for the wrecks and the restarts and all that stuff. You know, it's just a really good NASCAR fans race.
yeah.
You know, because you get to watch the racers, the drivers,
Hmm.
do what they're special
Yeah,
at doing. You know, and strategy always comes into play too because you
that's
don't have all them stupid ass wrecks and stuff. You know.
right, and that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think strategy is going to be a
Oh
thing
yeah,
this week? I
absolutely.
kind of hope it is.
It will be.
And is it going to go? Here's the big question: are we going to have another green white checkered this week? Because it seems like to me,
I'd be crazy to say no.
I know, because it seems like to me every week now we're getting a green white checkered finish, and that's fine. It's fun. It's good TV.
If it's legit.
If it's legit, I don't mind. It's the ones that are not quite legit that I have a problem with, just to make good TV. When, like Larson a few weeks ago, he had, what, a 4-second lead, and we get a caution. And I knew we would.
The very
Anytime
next week, it was Byron had a 2 or 3 second lead, and the same thing. You know?
same thing happened. And it's like these drivers, they're showing what they can do by building this lead. I mean, you got the best in the business out here, and you're putting 4 seconds on them. That's
Right.
you're showing off at this point. And you deserve to do that. You deserve that. That's what you're hired to do.
But you know,
And they take it away.
You don't see the NFL or the NBA saying, "All right, you guys play for the next 43 minutes."
Hmm.
Whatever the score is, it is. Because when there's 2 minutes left, we're gonna make you tie,
Yeah, we're going to take it back to 0. And we're playing again.
and whoever scores the most in the last 2 minutes wins.
Yeah.
You know.
So it's like, well, what?
You have to have that rule there to be implemented
Mhm.
in case it is if
But it shouldn't
when
be
it is
abused.
right, and one of my bigger fears with that is with this becoming a stigma in NASCAR is viewers are going to quit watching the first 3 hours of a race,
Hmm.
you know, and they're just going to go right to the last 20 minutes
Yeah.
and watch it, you know. And I want NASCAR fans to still be here 50 years from now,
Yeah.
100 years from now, you know, and that's kind of the what worries me with it, you know.
Right. So before we get into our league talk, I'm going to throw one more thing out there. Not looking at our league and not making your picks based on who's going to get you closer to the top in the league. Throwing that whole thing out, who would be your pick to win at Richmond?
My pick to win at Richmond, Kyle Busch.
That's exactly who I was going to say. Kyle Busch is my pick to win. I think my pick to do better than expected would be maybe a Tyler Reddick.
I think Kevin Harvick.
But Kevin Harvick is in that. You've got Martin Truex that's in that. You've got Hamlin is in that. I mean, you've got a handful of drivers that it would not surprise me one bit if they won. And I kind of hope to see Harvick win one.
Logano could pull it out. Blaney could pull it out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys out there that could pull it out.
Hmm.
But
But when I think of Richmond, I think of Harvick, I think of Kyle Busch,
and Denny Hamlin.
and Denny Hamlin. Those are the three guys that I think of. Those are at the top of my mind,
Yep.
without thinking about it.
Right.
Just instantly
Now,
pop into my head.
now this and the reason I say it could be any of these guys. You got what we just said: Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, and Denny Hamlin. That's three different manufacturers
Right?
this year.
Hmm.
This ain't. We're not. Just 5 minutes ago we said it's a Toyota dominated track. So, and the reason I'm bringing this up is the three drivers that we both agree on, not dark horses, but just people that could easily go out there and win this race,
Hmm.
is because of the strategy that we
Right.
talked about 15 minutes ago.
Yep.
Because these guys are veterans. You know, their crew chiefs are veterans.
Hmm.
They're gonna all three of them's gonna have a different game plan. I can promise you that.
Right.
Because they're gonna count on, hey, well, I can promise you, Hamlin's crew's gonna do this, and
Hmm.
Kyle's crew's gonna do this.
Right. And you get veterans like that. Not just veterans, but I'm talking legends that are still driving. They they know how to conserve fuel on a short track when you're 2 laps short. Which somebody like some of these newer guys may not know exactly how to. They know how to conserve fuel, but not as well as these other guys how to do it at this track or that track. So yeah, we agree. Those three are the ones that I think have the best shot to win.
Now,
Although I didn't pick either one, none of
yeah,
those three.
yeah. Now let me ask you this, and again, fantasy out the window.
Right.
Who's your dark horse to win?
Dark horse to win. That's a tough one. Because I want to say, I don't know if he would be a dark horse though. Would be Reddick,
Okay.
just because he got that win last week. He's on a tear, and we seen what he did after he got that win last year. Once he got that first win, he started tearing it up.
Well, the weight's
This is a
off.
Toyota track. I don't know exactly how he's done at Richmond since he's been in the Cup Series, but I don't think he's won there yet.
I'll tell you my dark horse.
Oh, matter of fact, I know he hasn't because he just got his first win last year.
My dark horse would be Chris Buescher. I think. That guy's a short track specialist.
Mm-hmm.
It's he's impressed me more and more every week for the last 2 years. He's climbing the ranks.
Right.
And he's got a hella strong car. Over there at RFK,
Right.
Roush, Fenway, Kozlowski, and he's got that teammate now. I've got
He's got that K teammate, that
yeah,
Keselowski part.
I've got that. I've got all the confidence in the world in Brad Kozlowski.
Yeah.
But
He could be
Buescher,
looked at as a dark horse also.
that's right, and that's where whenever I made my picks, I thought, well, I'm going to think outside the box here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where he's finished at in the past there, but I know what Chris Buescher can do.
Yeah.
And that's why I say he's my dark horse for this race.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good dark horse pick, and because Buescher has been quietly, steadily improving. He's not making leaps and bounds, but he is just staying at it.
Yep.
Doing what he's hired to do.
He's not going backwards.
No, he's not going backwards.
So
That's a good dark horse pick.
So let's go ahead and jump into this.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Let's get into these league things. So last week we had Jess, Sam, and Earl all picked winners. I wasn't much on that, but they did a pretty good job. I got to give them props because they picked the winner. And again, here we go. We're going to talk about Jess again because she was already in the top 10 and she jumped up 4 spots. So anytime you're in the top 10 and you jump up that many, that's doing pretty good.
Yeah, she's
Sam
in third now.
Yeah, she's third place, tied for third with our HR department.
Yep.
he wasn't much on that. He kept telling me, apparently your wife's better than you at this. You need to be taking her advice. I said, yeah, I might have to, but we picked somebody different. But so who did you pick with your?
Last week I took William Byron, and he was the strong car all day.
Yeah, I thought he was going to win there for a
You
while.
know, and I mean between him and Hendrick, I think there was only 6 laps that they didn't lead the whole day between
Yeah,
him and Hendrick, and uh,
he didn't quite get the finish that you thought he was going to get, but you still jumped 6 spots.
he
with it.
got fifth, so
Yeah,
I'll take it.
that's top five's
But
good any day.
but I'll tell you what, I mean, Reddick's car was stronger because when they had 4 new tires, when they were on green flag runs, Reddick was putting down better lap times.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and it it wasn't a minimal amount. So that's why I know he had a stronger car because Byron's just as good as a wheelman on asphalt that Reddick is. Now
Yeah.
I think Reddick's got the advantage on dirt,
Mm-hmm.
but uh, when they're on asphalt, I think they're pretty well even when it comes to being a wheelman.
Yeah.
But those lap times them 2 cars were putting out, Reddick's was quite a bit faster than Byron's, and that's why I knew if we ended on a green white checker, Reddick's gonna leave him.
Yeah. Reddick impressed me
Yeah.
with the way he drove COTA last week. I was really impressed. I picked Allmendinger last week at COTA. Should be a good pick, but 2 years in a row he gets me a 30-something. Thanks a lot, AJ. Good friend of the show, but still thanks a lot for not finishing the race. And
I'll punch him in the dinger when I see him.
I guarantee it. I guarantee it. We're going to have a discussion next time I talk to him. He dropped me 8 spots. I'm sitting down in 17th now because I was ahead of you. I was ahead of you for a while, and you jumped up 6. I fell 8. I had to listen to a lot of crap talk this week, but once again we got Hunter at the top, but he's kind of spacing himself out from the rest of everybody. He is
Normal Hunter fashion.
Yeah, he's 13 points ahead of second place, which is Chris. Hunter's got 35 points. Chris has 48 points, but we need to change that. But Hunter this week, we're taping this on Friday, so you've already put out who everybody's picked. That's how we know this. But Hunter picked Logano this week, so I guess that means Logano's going to get a top 5. Apparently, is what the Sports Almanac says.
Well, I mean,
he may even win it.
right?
So.
You never know. I mean, I wouldn't think Logano would get a top 5 this week just because it's Richmond. But I mean, you can't count him out anywhere.
No.
But now that Hunter picked him,
so he's going to do good. He's going to win, or he's going to finish top 3, top 5. So, but
I mean, they may just give him the win on Saturday.
They may. Why even run it? Hunter picked you to win, so you're going to get it, Logano. Here's the check. But it should get interesting this week because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got to go down to the 6th person down before we get to a repeat driver. So we're going to get a little shake up there at the top.
Yeah, that's always good for.
Yeah,
business.
Hunter's leading. He picked Logano. Jess she's the hot one right now. She keeps moving up this board. She's sitting in 3rd, and she picked Truex, which is her NASCAR
Her
husband.
crush,
yeah, that's her man crush, NASCAR husband. She's got Truex. Our HR department picked Byron, which I almost picked him just because he's hot, but. He's hot right now, so it'd be tough to go against him. But my pick for the fantasy part of this, even though I legit think Kyle Busch is probably going to win this, and I would not have a problem with that. I went with Christopher Bell.
Same as me.
Just because he's a short track guy.
He's Toyota.
He's got a Toyota. He's in the Gibbs stable, which this is a Gibbs track, as we said. And he had a bad race last week, so he's going to come out probably a little pissed off and want to show something. So.
Well, I'll tell you something too. I mean, I don't know if anybody looks at previous races there or not, but I would assume some of the 26 people do in our league. But the last 3 races there at Richmond, Christopher Bell's finished 2nd, 3rd, and 6th.
Yeah.
So
He's top
He's
10.
due for a one.
I'm ready for it this week.
My only problem with it is
6 people picked him.
is Chris up there in the second spot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Louie, he took Bell too. I was kind of hoping to see Chris's pick and Logano tangle up on lap one,
Yeah.
and both of them take
And
a
then
seat.
let Jess or Scott pass him up, one of the two, or Tony. Tony's right there. He's only a point off of our HR department.
Yeah.
And he picked Harvick. So he's got a legit shot there to
Yeah.
to bypass both of them. But, Truex is going to be, he's going to be up there. I mean,
Well,
he's the Gibbs stable, and this is one of his tracks.
he is, but Mom picked him.
Oh.
So I mean,
That's true. She's
we talked about this last week. What a bad run of luck.
yeah.
My mom, who's Lou in the NASCAR league, it don't
She's sitting 24th out of 26.
right, and it don't matter who she picks. She could pick the favorite every week, and it's like they just have a bad day.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah.
that's scary. That's when somebody's
That was me last week or last year. Every time they waited to see who Chad picks,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Oh crap, I picked the same guy he did."
And Hines is on a bad luck run like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the guy, Hines last year, man, it didn't matter
was
who he
doing pretty
picked.
good.
Yeah, he was in the top 5 all year. It seemed
Yeah.
like, and it just seems like here, starting off this year, just bad luck. That's all it is. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, that's all this thing comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, you're rolling dice. You're rolling dice, especially when you get them guys that just shove people out of the way. And it's like,
when you're trying to pick 1 out of 38 drivers
yeah,
to do good, your odds ain't that good. You know what I mean? Because you're picking that one driver you want to do good, but you got to count on 37 other people out there not to screw with him.
right. And
So-
going into a short track, especially when we got 3 in a row like this,
Yeah.
these 3 races, 4 races, because you got 3 short tracks followed by Talladega. It's 4 races in a row where it's just you're rolling a
One of
dice
them
and
being
hoping for
dirt.
the best.
You know,
Yeah, so it could get crazy. Jeremy is sitting right in front of me. I'm 17th place. Jeremy is 16th place. And he had a little smack talk going on in the group texts this week, but he picked Truex. I've got Bell, so I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I'd like to see Jess do pretty good, but she's got Truex, but so does the guy right in front of me. So if he wrecks, my feelings aren't hurt by that. If he does pretty good, well, as long as my guy does good, all right.
Right.
I guess I'm all right with that. So, but it surprised me. We did have a few Bowmans picked. We got Donovan, little D there. He picked Bowman. We got Mike R, who's I don't know what's going on with
Mike R.
I don't know what's
for
going on.
like I think the 4th or 5th week in a row has been auto drawn. Bowman's leading NASCAR points now.
Ah, so is that what happened this
Yeah.
week possibly?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he's going with a different strategy of let it roll, huh?
Yeah, let it play out again.
He's going to run out of drivers by the end of the year. He's going to be
good ones.
yeah. Yeah, he's going to be when it comes playoff time, he's going to have the Ty Dillons and the
Harrison Burtons
of the world. Well, that's not good when you're at the bottom of the standings.
It's your dice you roll.
That's right.
So.
You paid your money, you get to pick. But
Strategy comes into play here too.
it does. It does. Playing a long game. But as far as the standings go, Hunter, he's at the top again. And he's the only person that picked Logano. So, what, for my fantasy scenario would be perfect is for Logano to wreck on the first lap or blow a motor. He's in a Ford, so he's got a pretty good shot at blowing that motor.
Yeah, he could.
Early and finish with like a 37, 38, something like that.
Yeah, you never know.
So just to see Hunter not at the top of the standings for a little while.
I'll go along with that. I'll say, hey, blow that motor. Just so we can.
I think we got 25 other people that'll be happy to see that.
Hunter's just running away with this thing.
He is.
I mean, we get. We're only what race races is 5, 6?
It's like 6, something like that.
So I mean, we're only 6 out of 36 races in.
Yeah.
And
We can't let him get running out there.
no,
He can't have that clean air by himself. No, we gotta punt that guy to the wall. So maybe this will be the week to do that with Logano. But I went with Bell. You went with Bell.
it was a lot of Bell, Hamlin, and Truex. The Gibbs stable. But I think hopefully them boys can show up and do us good.
I think most of them will do pretty good. I think you'll have one Gibbs driver that doesn't do good, and it's going to be a matter of luck as to which one don't.
To me, and you're right, it's going to be a matter of luck because I think you're going to see Truex, Bell, and Hamlin have 3 different strategies before they even get to the racetrack.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, we get a Gibbs car in that victory lane, Grandpa Joe's getting paid.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So them 3 crew chiefs, I think they're gonna sit down. They're gonna have 3 different strategies on when to pit, how to pit, 2 tires, 4 tires, this scenario, that scenario, just to get one of them Gibbs boys in victory lane. So it's a matter of who gets what strategy. I think is what we're gonna see if Gibbs wins.
Which strategy
you
holds
take
up the
strategy
best?
A, you take strategy B, you take strategy C, and we got the race covered.
Yeah, between the 3 of us, one of us are going to hit there. Yeah, we're going to hit the bullseye with one of them. But yeah, Paul's not in last place anymore. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah,
Paul's not in last. He is 21st out of 26.
Yeah. Well, I was keeping him there just because he's a UK fan.
Oh, Paul's a UK fan?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he needs to be back
and
down
a Dallas
the bottom.
Cowboys fan.
Oh, sweet
you know
Jesus. He's got 2 strikes against him.
Right.
All I see now...
Even no matter what score he got, I just kept him at 26.
Okay. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. It's earned. The only thing, when I think of Paul now, is a couple weeks ago, he was the first one to hit 100.
Yeah.
And there was somebody in one of those text groups that all they said was, Paul sucks.
Yeah. That was Riggs. He works down there with Paul.
And that's all I can't see anything, I can't unsee that.
Right.
'Cause every time I write Paul's name, I see Paul sucks, even though Paul's climbing the standing. You're doing good, Paul, even though you're a UK fan.
Yeah.
But
I used to work with Riggs and which is Josh R on some of the boards, but I call him Riggs.
I got you.
But Riggs, Tony, Paul, and myself used to work together. Down there. Them 3 still work there. But when Riggs, he's good at talking some shit, So it's
I'm good with
I
that.
expected it, but it was still funnier.
Yeah, it was just
as soon as you send the points out,
It was just plain and 2 words. That's all. And I felt Paul's pain because last year I was the first guy to. Yeah, I was Paul last year, so I feel his pain and frustration. But that was just a funny text. But well, we'll get Richmond out of the way this week, and then we'll be on to Bristol Dirt, and we will talk about that next week. You got anything else to add to this?
I don't, folks. But
all right,
stay tuned and
that's
keep
right.
on listening.
As always, thanks for taking time to click on our show, listen to it. Be sure to follow us on whatever platform you're on. Kind of lets us know you're out there and listening. Which I'm starting to get things on this that kind of show me who's listening and who's not. I just want to throw this out there. There's somebody in Belgium. There's a guy in Belgium. And if you're listening...
I call him the Belgian badass.
He is the Belgian badass. I'm assuming it's a he. I apologize if it's not a he, but if it's...
well, a woman could be a badass too.
She could be, especially in Belgium. Yeah. I've heard they're tough over there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never met a Belgian person, but we just want to give you a shout out to the Belgian badass.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening. Tell your
friends.
Thanks
for listening. Yeah. Tune in next week. But as always, like I said, follow so you know when we get a new episode come out. And thanks for listening. Have a good weekend at the races, wherever you go, wherever you're watching. And we'll tune in next week.
Right. Okay.